Hello and welcome to Knobcat Games Dungeons of the Obelisk podcast. I'm your host, Joe Sleppy, and I'm joined today by Ben Segas.
Hello.
And Nika Deer.
Hi.
And today, finally on the podcast, making his podcast debut, we have Kel Molar.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great, and now that we've got you on here, we get to hit you with the big introduction that I made everyone else do on their first time. So, we got your name. We'd like to hear where you're from, your job at Knobcat, any other stuff you do. You know, we all had things we promote and do on the side, so I don't know if there's anything like that for you. And then, of course, the notorious random fact.
All right. So, hey, I'm Kel. I'm a game developer from Toronto, Canada, but I'm currently living the digital nomad lifestyle with my fiance, who's a painter, and she also works in games as a background and character artist. We've been all over the place. I've worked for studios in San Francisco, Dubai, Estonia, Australia, and now we're currently in Manila, Philippines, which is why I'm not on these podcasts often, actually, since it's usually 4 a.m. for me when you guys do this.
Is that what time it is right now?
Right now it's actually 5 a.m.
I'm really sorry.
Oh no, it's all right. It's totally all right. I am what's known in the industry as a generalist game developer. That means I get to wear a lot of hats, and I'm required to know a lot of things and how to make them work, from animation, VFX, 3D modeling, audio production, programming, even accounting, basically everything related to running an animation in advertising or game development studio. So I'm like a one-man band. I've been making games since I was 11 or 12 years old, and I've worked on way too many projects for a lot of companies and studios since. Here at Knobcat, I'm a programmer, and I bring Joe's designs to life. It's actually funny how I ended up here. I started in the industry making actual games, you know, in the traditional sense. I used to make games with my friends, like here at Knobcat. And but for the better part of the last 5 years, I've specialized in making training games for corporations and educational games for schools. So I don't know how it happened exactly, but I became the go-to guy for like companies that wanted to spice up their employee training programs a bit. So they bring me in to make video games, like interactive apps that either teach new employees what these companies are about, or basically drop them into a simulation of what is essentially a real-world on-the-job problem. And I get a lot of referrals, so my portfolio is all over the place. For example, I worked on a game for a solar power company, a home insurance company that deals with water damage, and even a forensics company that trains people who eventually end up working for the FBI. So it's like all referrals. Oh, wow. So 2 months ago, I had a moment where I kind of took a look at where I'm at and what I've been doing, and felt like my career had taken a different direction, much different than what I expected. So I felt like I was creatively starved, and I started looking around for something different. That's when I saw Joe's job ad, and what really drew me in was the fact that you guys are a small new group working on a game in a genre and a medium that I was actually interested in, and I felt like something like Knobcat was an opportunity for me to like help a small group to establish a culture and, you know, like help a studio to find its voice. So 2 months later, here we are.
That's a lot of wow. Some of that
awesome
stuff I don't even know if I quite knew. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing all that.
You're definitely the experienced guy on the team. It's been like kind of a godsend for us, really. Like I'm wondering like how things could have gone differently if you hadn't answered the ad, you know. I don't like to think about it.
That's actually my random fact. So my random fact is actually still related to this job in Knobcat. After my first interview with you, you sent me the game design document, and I took a look at it, and it's funny. I'm not sure if you remember this, but I did turn you down, or at least I implied that I wasn't the right person for the job. So I tried really hard to get you to go with someone else. Because as I was reading the document, I thought, damn, this game is going to need someone who can really sink their teeth in, right? It can't have someone go halfway, otherwise it won't get done. So I felt like with what I had on my plate, I wasn't sure if I was the right person, for that. So I told you I was gonna sleep on it, but I actually already decided that I wasn't gonna take the job. So when I got off the call with you, I spoke to my fiance, and I told her like, oh, I'm not gonna take that job. Like the guy is working on his passion project. He's funding it himself. He's really into it. He even has this YouTube channel where he plays this other game he likes that's similar to it. He plays it almost religiously, but he knows he can do a better job. He can make a better game. But so I'm not sure if I want that kind of pressure. That's what I said. And then she said, isn't that what you're looking for anyway? And you're getting tired of these corporate games. You're practically sleepwalking your way through the deadlines. So like, why? She said, why, right? So I'm like, yeah, that gave me something to think about. And so I thought about it, and I thought, okay, if I'm gonna do this anyway, I might as well do it with, or I wanted to do it with someone who really wanted to make this game. Like I wanted a team that's really passionate about making this game. So it had to be worth my time, and it had to be worth everyone's time, right? So I went ahead and told you like the day after, like, okay, let's do it, right? So that's my random pack. I almost turned down this job basically.
Nice.
Well, thank goodness for your fiance.
That's really cool, actually. Like, it's cool that you gave it a very honest and serious consideration, and then was like, still kind of had to go back and think about it. That's important, I think, before starting any project.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to get more like behind the scenes too, like I did some interviews, and I was like, this is the guy. Like I don't want to do any more interviews. This guy's perfect for this. He seems passionate about it and everything. And then I did the second interview with you, and you were like kind of turning me down, and I was like, but you were turning it down for the reason that you thought you couldn't do it good enough. And I was like, no, that's a reason why you should be the person doing it, is that you care enough to turn it down because you think you can't do it good enough. I don't know if that logic makes sense or not, but that was my thought on it. I was like, I remember trying to convince you, and then I was like, well, go ahead and sleep on it. And then the next morning I got your acceptance, I guess. So it's neat to see that behind the scenes on that.
Yeah, because like I told you, right? Like I still have my full-time jobs, or a couple of them actually. So yeah. After reading the MVP document, I thought like someone needed to work on it more. Like someone who had more availability, who would be more available, and I wasn't sure if I could promise that. So that was the logic behind it. So yeah, but here we are, right?
Yeah, I think it works out good because I still have my full-time job, and everybody else, Ben and Nika have commissions and things that they also work on. So it's kind of not full-time for any of us, I guess, but we're putting a lot of time into it too. So
yeah. So yeah, I guess we're all in the same boat.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like we keep saying this. I keep like trying to remind people that games take a really long time to do, and that they shouldn't expect anything other than, updates and things like that from us for a long time. But at the same time, I feel like we've made great progress, and we're on prototype 3, and it has loot now, and all the items are kind of in the game, even if they don't do stuff yet. And prototype 3 is pretty great. Like I've been playing it for I wish it had a counter for how many hours I've been on it, because I think I'm like I have to be at 10 hours at least on this like prototype.
No way. I don't think there's enough content for that.
I keep
crazy.
like running it over and over because like here's what I keep doing. I keep thinking like, oh, I'm off work right now. I've got a couple vacation days. I want to play some kind of game. And then I come in and I'm like, I don't have the brain power for Slay the Spire right now. And I don't want to play Diablo again because like I've done everything in that, and you know, Blizzard's weird and stuff. And then I'm like, oh, I have this Grim Dawn game that I bought, but I don't feel like trying to figure out all the systems in that game. And then I'm like, well, I can see what else other work I can do on our prototype. And then I like get in and find something that should have been tweaked, or, you know, grab a different main hand item and see how the attacks work. And it's, I don't know, I feel like if I'm not putting the time in playing it, then no one else is gonna do it for me, you know.
Yeah. I get where you're coming from, but I think it'll be much better later, right? Like later.
Oh, for sure.
After a couple more milestones.
Yeah, every time it gets better and better, and there's more and more to talk about and more to like work on, and you know, every time more bugs get in there, and you know, I have to find those and let you know about them.
I'm excited to put in more of the art and animation that Nika and Ben are working on, especially for the character animator, because it's so bare right now.
I want to know what your guys' thoughts were when you played it. Obviously, you weren't in there as long as I was, but you know, Nika and Ben, what did you think? Prototype 3.
I'm really enjoying it. I've ran through the dungeon a few times now, and the balancing for level 1 was pretty cool. Of course, like we were talking about, the balancing gets a little wild after level 1, so still some work to be done there, but it's just amazing seeing it all together, like seeing it with some animation and all the great art that Ben's made, and the lighting, and just all the good work like Kel's put into it. It's just kind of been amazing. And even the number stuff, like you don't really see the stats. I mean, you do see the stats in the menu, but like it kind of goes to the back of your head sometimes when you're playing. But in terms of game feel, I feel like it translates pretty directly to how the pacing in the first dungeon feels, and I was really impressed by that. Yeah, I'm liking it so far. It's coming out really neat.
Yeah, I'm definitely kind of on the same page as Nika, because like, I mean, I'm definitely not a numbers person at all, so that part of me part of the game just kind of goes over my head. But I'm just basing it all on feel at this point, and it feels good. Like everything just feels smooth, and all of it makes sense to me so far. So, I mean, I haven't played it a super lot either. I've played a few run-throughs, but like, yeah, everything, I mean, part of it is just being so impressed with how everything has been put together so quickly. So it's just kind of like blowing my mind as I play it. But yeah, it just feels good so far.
It's one of those things like where we just have dungeon level 1. So in my mind, I don't think a player is going to play level 1 more than one time. You know, they're going to go straight to level 2, and then, you know, like dungeon level 1 is kind of a playground where you get in there and get a couple pieces of loot and learn how the game works, and then you move on to like the tougher stuff. So like we've probably spent more time in it than like any player actually will for level 1, but it's pretty neat. Like you all mentioned the numbers, and I feel like my guesses for the numbers in my head were all pretty close, except for the weapon attacks. They were all like about like 90% weaker than they should have been.
Yeah, I don't know how you just like pull the numbers out. Like I said, the numbers go way above my head. So like the fact that you've gotten it pretty well balanced thus far is blowing my mind. So
Yeah, it's, I don't know, like for some reason that's how my brain works, is I'm just like, okay, well if I give them this stat, then you have to like balance everything around it. And so it's like, if you can do this much damage, how strong does the mob need to be? And if you have this much health, how much damage does the mob have to do? I don't know. I just like, I'm always, for some reason, like, I guess that's why I play games like this, is to crunch numbers.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was been doing like a bunch of different builds. Like I tried to do an entirely strength build, which is I was actually able to do because the karma is bugged right now, so you have way more karma than you should. So so you don't need to stack karma to be able to cast your tougher attacks. So I was able to just go all strength, and I was like running around the dungeon a bunch of times trying to drop an item. Like I needed like a body or something that had strength on it. So like then when that finally drops, it's like, oh man, I finally got it. So like I think that's gonna be, you know, that's the feeling you want, is when you finally get that cool piece of loot that drops. So I'm excited for people to eventually be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I also had to name every piece of loot in the game.
Yeah, we should. I mean, I don't want to spoil all the names right too early, but like we should probably talk about some of those because there's some really good ones in there.
Yeah, I was curious if anything stood out to any of you.
Yeah, I was well, when I was playing, I ended up on the Faith's Gold longsword. I thought that was cool, but that's pretty, like, you know, that's a longsword. That's cool. That's gold. But then you have things.
Yeah, that's the fabled tutorial sword.
But then you've got like Canopic Jar, Hackneyed Pants, Victoria Foot Guards. Like the naming's great in this, honestly. Blade of the End. Oh no, I'm leaking things. I should probably shut up.
Some of them, like there is like little things behind some of them. Like a Canopic Jar is just, that one's not really like named after anything other than like a Canopic Jar is like what they take all of the gross stuff out in Egypt, like when they're making a mummy. They take all of the disgusting stuff out and put it in the jar and then like seal it up. So that's like what that is.
Gotcha. I wasn't actually sure. Like I ended up looking up Canoptic and was like, is this what this means? I think Yeah, some of the names though are like really interesting. Like you have this one that starts with remorse, and it's like allegiance of it's like a whole thing, and that just feels like there's like potential lore implications or plot implications there. It's kind of why I hesitate to say it completely out loud, but
now all of the stuff is kind of like tentatively lore. You know, our game's not super lore heavy, but you know, I've placed a few things in some of these items that are world building, you know, like I think that the player can kind of take a lot of them and you know, build what they think it is and stuff. There's not really answers for everything, but I think dropping little things like that is how you build an interesting like world to play in.
For sure. Like just adding more like lived in feel to it is really important.
And also I had to name all of the like crappy items, just like things like doll sword and stuff like that, and I just like drank a monster and stayed up late and just like thought of all these names in like basically one night, really. You know, a lot of them I had, but all the like lower level stuff I just had to like knock out. I was like, I gotta do all this. You know, the legendary ones are fun to name because they all have something cool that they do, but like, you know, your trash sword that no one's ever gonna use in the game is like, what do you call that?
Yeah, the best sword in the game is literally the title. We'll just call it that. I mean, they'll never want to unequip it, even though it obviously isn't as good. And they're like, but it's gotta be the best, right? It says so.
You got some interesting references in there as well, like Barsoom from John Carter.
Yeah, here's how my mind worked on that. There's another game that I play that we don't name on the podcast, and their buffs are all called they all have a word. I'm trying not to give away. I don't want to talk about the other game, but I looked up, like, I was like, what? Why is their buff called this? And I looked it up, and it was based on like a Pulp Fiction novel from like that like era of when John Carter was written. And I think it might be like a straight up knockoff of like John Carter, basically. You know, the planet that they live on was basically the name of their buff. And I was like, well, screw it. I like John Carter. I'm just going to name our buffs. Are all going to be called, like, the main one's Barsoom, and then they're all just going to be named something Soom.
I love that.
I'm always curious, like, what people are going to pick up on, like, what references people will actually get. I was super surprised whenever you got the Barsoom reference.
I've actually never met anyone in real life who's read John Carter. or even seen the movie, actually, which is funny.
I've at least seen the movie, but I haven't read it yet, sadly.
Yeah. My story about John Carter books is, since I'll never have anywhere else to tell this, I guess, my dad has all of them. He like read them when he was a kid, and he gave me all of the books. I think there's 9 of them, and I was reading them, and the cover art for these books is like really like part of the story is that, you know, he shows up on Barsoom, which is Mars, and he's like naked, and then all the aliens basically wear like S&M harnesses and stuff. So like that's what's on the cover of the book, is like John Carter like naked. So book 4 is called The Princess of Mars, and it's basically like a naked woman on the cover of the book with like a alien lion. And I like didn't really think anything of it, and I was reading these books, and I was like in school, and someone stole the book from me in school, and I know it's because it had that naked woman on the cover of it. So some shitty high school kid and from my high school took my book and who knows what with it.
Oh shit.
So I read John Carter up until halfway through Princess of Mars, and then someone stole my book, and then I didn't actually get that book back. I could never find one, because after that print run they changed the covers, and then for obvious reasons, I guess. And then I couldn't find that actual same copy of the book for a long time, until like I actually like about once or twice a year I'd like search it up and be like trying to find that book, and then I finally got it this year. So I have my collection is complete again, so I could probably start rereading that. Is that far enough off topic for a podcast?
I mean, it's a cool story, at least.
Yeah,
For sure.
hopefully. Yeah, we had a few more things in the notes that I wanted to bug Kel about, you know, kind of getting some behind the scenes on programming and, you know, taking my ideas and making them real. But I'm looking at our clock right now, and we're at 26 minutes, so I don't think we have time to get into all of that. So let's save some of that stuff for the next time Kel's on the show. And let's get into the what are you working on right now? Mine's pretty boring. I updated our site today. I got our logo on it, updated some of the text, put the Discord up front so people can actually find it. So that was my what am I working on. So what's everybody else into?
I guess I'll go next. I'm just working on mobs right now, so lots of fun creature drawings.
Right on. We definitely need more mobs in the game, so
Yeah,
I'm excited
definitely.
for these. Micah, what are you into?
Well, I'm actually giving the default glub enemy, the slime you see on the website and on like a lot of the promotional material. I'm building the animations for that. So I've already made a idle animation, and I've made a death animation, because I thought that would probably be a really fun one to start with, and it really was. But we still have movement, an attack animation. There might be a couple more. Let me see. A taking damage animation as well. Yeah, so this week I'm just going to be finishing those out. Like, Ben's got a few more mobs he's been working on, as he said, so I'm really looking forward to starting on those after this glub. But right now it's just fleshing out the glub, really.
Right on. You'll have to share those in the Discord before the episode comes out.
For sure.
We got our promotional frame now, so we can share some of those. Kel, I think you're in the in between things right now. You're not.
Yeah, right. So I'm about to start the next milestone, and it's mostly about cleaning up and tweaking, because the game is at a good place right now because we blitzed through these first few months, and we finished a lot of important features that all add up to make it feel like a game, but it's still very much a prototype. So now it's time to slow down a bit and clean things up. So it's mostly fixing bugs, getting the existing subsystems right before adding on more new things.
Yeah, and we talked about them for like 3 hours on Friday. That's why the podcast is late. Awesome. Well, I can't wait till prototype 4. When do we start naming them like 3.2, 3.4.01 and stuff like that?
I'm actually not sure. I'm just, like keeping it simple right now. 1, 2, 3. When you start adding like 0.2, 0.25 or something, it gets too complicated.
I always wondered how people came up, like how like other companies came up with their like build numbers and stuff. There's got to be systems to it, right?
Yeah, it's usually there are no set rules. Like every studio or company does it differently. But if it's like a 0.1 version, it's usually just a small like whatever, like a small feature or a small fix to something. So usually the big numbers like 1.0 or like 2.0 are reserved for like major updates.
Right on. I think that's it. We're over 30 minutes now till I edit this down, and I hate editing, so I'm cutting it right now. Guys, if you're still listening to this, thank you so much. Be sure to check out our Discord. Go to knobcat.com. There's a link to the Discord. There's my Saturday blog where I update you on what we're working on. There's links to our videos, the videos of the prototypes that I've made on YouTube. All of that, all of your Dungeons of the Obelisk needs at knobcat.com. And you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter, Dungeons Obelisk on those. And the more people that start following me on there, the more I'll be inclined to post. I think that's it for the podcast. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.